I did a video on what I believe that why we have the Second Amendment, and what it is there was 3% of the people that were saying we're tired of this, and that's where the 3%ers come in, and they're saying that the 3% picked up arms and started killing. Well, they started rebellion and were being killed, and basically that's how it. That's I think that they were allowed to be killed, and then or there was people in rebellion who said, uh, okay, these people are killing our people. So the 3% probably kicked in and said, okay, it's time for us. They've killed in these all these colonies, the 13 colonies. They all had rebellions in them to prove the governors and the rulers of those colonies incompetent, which were British. More than likely they were British, and so they started rebelling and they were being killed. And then the people, 3%, said, hey, we're tired of being killed, and we're going to take up and we're going to start killing them. And that's where we're at. And that's what the second is are people tired of, but everybody's like, there hasn't been anybody killed yet. But what the happening is they're writing laws against the 3%. They're trying to keep that 3% from having the ability to stop them from writing laws against people until we're just have laws into an oblivion of whatever it's whatever they want. It's not what we want. They're trying to write laws into whatever they want, or what some agenda says. Well, we don't like these people, and everybody's right now. Everybody's against the people that have the ability to take up arms against these law writers that are just trying to write us into oblivion. And we're just supposed to sit back and take it because, well, if we start shooting at them, then it's murder. And that's exactly how this country was, is we were murdered, and then the 3%, the citizens that were rebelling were murdered, and then the 3% decided, okay, enough of this, it's our turn. And that is the Second Amendment is supposed to scare the lawyers that write all the laws, all these Congress and all these senators and all these people that are voting on passing laws against everything. But right now, they're trying to write the 3% out of existence so that we'll have no rebellions. The only rebellion you'll have is protest, and they don't listen to protest. They don't care about protest. It's if there's enough, unless it's enough people. Right now, they're writing against 3% of the population, or however many it is that has guns, and they're writing against that percentage. Now, if that percentage isn't enough to be a protest that affect their vote of getting in and getting elected, then they don't care. See, and that's not what it's supposed to. That's the arbitrary part of it, where they're just writing laws against a small percentage of they're just writing willy nilly laws just to control this small group, and uh, that is still tyranny, even though it's a small percentage. It doesn't have to be the mass. It doesn't have to be the whole country that they're writing against to be a tyranny. They can write against small groups, and it's still a tyranny to that group, and that's where people were when during the revolution, before the revolution, they were saying, "Hey, we're tired of having to pay more money," so they started murdering, and that's where our country is at, and that's where the second is for, is don't mess with our money or we will kill you. And that is what the second is, and nobody wants to believe that. Nobody wants to say, well, no, that's we got protests now, we can do it. They don't care about protest unless it affects them getting voted. They're not going to change. We're supposed to be in control, and that's the reason all these big protests, when these big protests, there's uh blacks want something. There's a lot of blacks. The gun owners. They get it. There might be a group of 1,000 people. 1,000 or two people. They don't care about the 1,000 or two people. That means nothing to them. even though it is a group of people that are like-minded and they don't want laws written against them, which is causing this arbitrary dispute, is that they're writing laws against this small percent because it won't affect them getting voted in, so they don't care. But it is also unconstitutional for them to write laws against us, and it says right there, shall not be infringed, and that is it's you're not to write laws against it, and it's supposed to be self-regulating from your conscience, saying, "Oh, do we want murdered for writing laws against this amendment?" And it should say, it should flick a switch of common sense and the realization of what has happened through history. So what they're doing is writing laws against this 3%, so you cannot. This Second Amendment will be non-existent, and all you'll have is your words. And if there's not enough people to keep them from being voted in, then you won't get any change, and you'll be you'll have laws written against you to whatever. Now, let's say that a religion was starting to the what is it first they've written it, they tell you what words you can't say, and people say, oh, okay, we won't say this word. And what if they start saying that whole paragraphs, whole sentences, not just a couple words? That's where it starts. That's where they say it starts. And if they'll start saying, okay, we don't want this kind of protest. What if they start denying protest? Because, we don't want, what we believe what you're talking about isn't necessary, so we're not going to allow you that protest. Do you think there'd have to be enough people saying, okay, and they've already done that. They've denied people protests. And because they're saying, well, it's going to be, or they'll shut down a protest. They say, oh, it's getting too ridiculously rowdy, and it's still a protest. Even though I don't know about destroying buildings. That's also where the rebellion comes in. Are you willing to destroy stuff? Are you willing to kill people? And that's where these lawmakers, they only do it for certain people. If it's a large percentage of people and they know that this group is doing this destruction for a large percentage of voters, and it might cost them a seat or an election, then they're gonna give that. But if you're a small percentage like gun owners, and even all the gun owners aren't coming together. They're, most of them are saying, well, I just shoot this or that, or I'm not gonna. It's only like, I don't even know if it's 3% anymore of the. It might be, I don't know, 3% of the population is 2A. Is there that many people? I don't know. It might be less percentage, and they're not. They don't care. They're going to say, well, it's not enough people that we care about it. That's what they're going to say to themselves. They're not going to tell us that. They're not going to say, well, you only, 2% of the population, not going to affect us getting elected. So why don't you just shut up, and we're just going to continue writing laws against you? And that's what's happening. It's a tyranny. If you look up tyranny, and it's arbitrary, and it means writing against small groups, small percentages of people. They're just writing careless things against them, careless rules and laws, and that's what they're doing. And so we do have a tyranny, but the whole country isn't in tyranny. See, that's the whole problem. People think, well, the whole country has to be written. Nobody there. If somebody's, if they're writing something about something else, say they're you go to strikes of iron workers. If you're not an iron worker, say I drive a truck. Do I go to an iron worker strike? Do I go to any other unit? Do I go to a carpenter strike? Do I go to a bricklayer strike? No, I go deal with what I do, and that's what I do. And see, that's how they can rule this stuff. Is they just strike it. They're going to say, well, we need money. The labor wages dropped in this area, and that's, it's all percentages, and you're such a small percentage, if you're not going to, if it doesn't affect them getting voted in, then they're going to ride against you, and it's a tyranny. And nobody understands that. They think tyranny is against the whole mass. It has to be everybody. Is like property tax. And look at property tax. Look at how your property tax is just jammed up. Look at how our sales tax here is just thrown. They want something that the government wants, and that's not how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that way.